You're listening to The Phillip Jordan Show.
What's up, everybody? Welcome in to the Phillip Jordan Show. Happy New Year. First episode of 2024 coming to you on New Year's Day. And thank you for checking out the show. I'm your host, Phillip Jordan, in-studio host and producer. That's What's Football on 96.9, the legend and Auburn writer for Last Word on college football. On today's show, it's just me going to be looking back at some of the bowl games around the SEC, the 2 on Friday and the 3 on Saturday. Give my thoughts on what happened, and we'll look ahead to the college football playoff and the other bowl games coming up on Monday, today, January 1st. You can check out the Phillip Jordan Show podcast over at wiregrassdailynews.com or wherever you get your podcasts. If you're on Apple Podcasts, please follow, rate, and review. Leave a review, and I will read it on a future edition of the show. And if you leave just 4 stars, you are just a straight-up hater. You can email me at sports.phillipjordan@gmail.com. All right, so we're going to look at the bowl games around the SEC from Friday and Saturday. Thought about maybe throwing in A&M Oklahoma State game, but that was from last Wednesday. We kind of touched on that a little bit on Friday's show with me and Matt. And anybody watching on YouTube, I am coming to you from Studio B, recording this on early Sunday evening. Before we can get it out for the New Year's Eve festivities begin, that I will be partaking in. But let's jump off Friday in the Gator Bowl, an early one between Clemson and Kentucky. This was a fun game. Clemson won 38-35. Clemson went on a 12-play, 68-yard drive with 2:22 taken off the clock, and then ended with Phil Maffa with a 3-yard touchdown. Maffa had 71 yards on the game, but he also had 4 touchdowns. Cade Klubnik added in a 2-point conversion to get up 38-35 when he connected with Josh Sapp. In the game, Cade Klubnik was 30 of 41 for 264. He did throw the 1 interception. Kentucky had a lead late in the game. They had a 21-10 lead at 1.2 in the game, but 4 turnovers in the second half, costly for Kentucky in this one. 2 turnovers from quarterback Devin Leary. Also, Leary was 16 of 28 for 306, 2 touchdowns, like I said, 2 interceptions. Ray Davis had 63 yards in the game and the 1 touchdown. Wide receiver Barrion Brown was super impressive in the game. He had 3 catches for 100 yards and 1 touchdown, 26 yards on the ground and 1 touchdown, and 100 yards kickoff return for a touchdown. He had 226 total yards and 3 touchdowns in the game. For Kentucky, they end the year at 7-6. For Clemson, they close out at 9-4. Disappointing year, really, for both teams, especially Clemson. They are always expecting to be in the college football playoff scenarios, in the playoff itself. In Kentucky, I think they was kind of hoping for a better year with Liam Cohen coming back as coordinator, and then also Devin Leary. But they have Brock Vanderbilt coming in. They've done some good things in the portal and recruiting there in Kentucky. We'll see where that team is at. And Clemson, I project Clemson will be in the college football playoff next year when we go to 12 teams. I'm predicting they will be the ACC champion when all is said and done over there. Then on Friday night, you had the Cotton Bowl between Missouri and Ohio State. And if you sat through this whole game, you deserve some kind of financial compensation, because this was a tough watch. I'll be honest with you, I yawned quite often in this game. Missouri wins 14-3 for an 11-2 season over Ohio State. It was 3-0 going into the fourth quarter for Ohio State. They played 2 quarterbacks, Devin Brown and Lincoln Kienholz. At the 2 quarterbacks, not great, barely over 100 yards between the two, 106 yards. Brown was 4 of 6 before he got injured and left for 20 yards, and Lincoln was 6 of 17 for 86 yards in the game. Missouri scored on the first play of the fourth quarter to take a 7-3 lead when running back Cody Schrader scored on a 7-yard touchdown. And overall, he had 29 carries for 128 yards and 1 touchdown. Quarterback Brady Cook, he was solid. He was decent game, 11-18, 128, and 1 touchdown. Not much with Luther Burden in this one, but he had 3 catches, 15 yards, but he had 1 touchdown. The touchdown came with 5:12 left in the game. off a 13-play, 91-yard drive. That took us 6 minutes and 10 seconds. So really put the game away there with Luther Burden on the touchdown. When you're looking at some stats in this game, Missouri had 4 of 16 on third down, but they were 3 of 3 on fourth down. Ohio State was 2 of 15 on third down. Total yards, Missouri had 331. Ohio State had 2 of 3. And in the running game, that's where Missouri dominated, 203 yards to 97. But it's just, kind of one of these things now, what we see in the bowl games. Kyle McCord transfers out, goes to Syracuse. Still weird you want to go from Ohio State to Syracuse, but that was the deal there. Devin Brown goes down. He was making his first start for Ohio State, and then the backup quarterback, third-string quarterback, comes in, and Ohio State's offense just couldn't go. Of course, Marvin Harrison Jr. did not play in the game. Didn't think he would, so that's kind of like what you get there in that one. But great year for Missouri to go 11-2. A lot of people didn't have them having a great year. Eli Drinkwitz had never had more than 5 or 6 wins in a season. Never had a winning record. Been at 500, but never a winning record. But great year for them. We'll see how they're able to capitalize that going into next season. On Saturday, we had 3 games involving SEC teams. The Peach Bowl, Ole Miss defeated Penn State 38-35, and the 25, and it wasn't even that close in the second half. Ole Miss gets their 11th win of the year, 11-2, first time in program history. They have 11 wins in a season. Quarterback Jackson Dart had a big game, 379 yards, 3 touchdowns, and he even had a 15-yard reception in the first half off a Philly special. Tight end Caden Prieskorn had 10 catches for 136 yards and 2 touchdowns. Trey Harris had 7 catches for 134, and Quinson Junkins, a lot of his yards came in the second half off 34 carries, 106 yards. He had a 14-yard touchdown catch in the third quarter to go up 31-17. It was 20-17 going into halftime. Both teams just going back and forth, big plays offense, but the Ole Miss defense really clamped down there in the second half. Penn State quarterback Drew Aller was 19 of 39 for 295 yards and 2 touchdowns. He threw 1 interception. And Tyler Warren had 5 catches, 127 and 0 touchdowns. Once again, Ole Miss goes to 11-2 to close out the season. And look, what you've got the Junkins coming back. You've got Dart coming back. Other skill position players coming back for Ole Miss team, and what they've done in the portal defensively. Ole Miss is going to be one of the teams. I'm going to throw it out here. Ole Miss will be a playoff team next year. Of the SEC teams that I think can make the postseason, Alabama, Georgia, obviously, I think Ole Miss is going to be one of them as well. I would not count out LSU in that conversation. And then, of course, Texas next year. Remember, Texas will be in the SEC, a 16-team conference next season. Now, let's look at the Music City Bowl. Auburn losing to Maryland 31-13. 3 straight losing seasons for the Auburn Tigers as they lose to Maryland here out of the Big Ten. Maryland opened with a 21-0 first quarter lead. Auburn had 3 straight 3-and-out. So Maryland was going out the field with backup quarterback Billy Edwards and Cameron Edge. They had touchdown passes. It got started, and Auburn had a chance to get off the field in the first possession. Missed tackles. Running back Roman Hemby had a 61-yard screen pass, and then Billy Edwards had a 2-yard touchdown run to go in the game. Auburn only had 300 total yards. There was 2 times there in the first half. On the second possession there by Maryland for that score, there was a fumble. There was probably 5 or 6 different Auburn Tigers that had an opportunity to jump on the ball. They were not able to do so. And there was another one late. Keontae Scott had a shot at interception. He wasn't able to get it. It was 21-7, but then became 24-7 there. And it really the Auburn defense played well after the first quarter after being down 21-0. Just the offense could not get anything going. 76 yards rushing in the game, only 44 for Jacquez Hunter. Didn't really understand much of the game plan there for Auburn in that one. Peyton Thorne was 13 of 27 for 84 yards, 1 touchdown. He threw 1 interception, a pick 6 that really put the game away there in the second half. Hank Brown came in late, last couple possessions for Auburn. Freshman Holden Garner came in before him. He was ineffective. He was 1 of 6. He threw an interception. But Hank Brown was 7 of 9, 132, led Auburn to a touchdown and almost another touchdown late. He really had to zip on the ball. He threw a great ball. He was not indecisive like Peyton Thorne is at times. So we'll see. Now, going into this, it was looked at that Peyton Thorne was the guy with all the talented receivers coming in with the 2024 recruiting class. But after the game, when Hugh Freeze was asked about it, he said the quarterback competition was wide. When asked about the game plan for Saturday in the Music City Bowl, Hugh Freeze had this to say. Well, obviously, I don't feel like it was an effective one. I didn't get too involved in it for the most part until this week because of recruiting and really wanted to kind of evaluate everything about our program. We didn't run the ball. It starts there. We have to go look at the run schemes that we had, and did we not play hard up front? Had to really look at Hugh's quote there. It's really hard for me to tell, but they really dominated the line of scrimmage against us. They did load the box now. They forced us to. They had extra hats in the box for sure, and that's when you've got to be able to throw it some. But we didn't protect the passer well. It wasn't all the O line. Sometimes the backs didn't get the protection right. But anytime you struggle like we did, it's not. I don't feel like the game plan was great. So we'll see. I kind of feel like this is just me speculating that maybe Ron Montgomery will not be back next season as Auburn's offensive coordinator. Now, he did have also good news on Saturday. Charles Kelly is coming over to be the new co-defensive coordinator. Obviously, he's coming from Colorado, and a lot of people, Auburn people, are looking at that and say, well, the Colorado defense was horrible, which that's a completely different situation over there in Colorado. He had successful stints at Alabama, Tennessee, Florida State. He's also a very good recruiter. Now, Wes McGriff is leaving the program as DB's coach. There's a spot where now Charles Kelly can slide into that. We'll see how he does with Ron Roberts as the defensive coordinator there as well. But Montgomery, I do not think he will be the offensive coordinator for Auburn next year. We'll see how that goes on that front. And finally, we got the Orange Bowl. I think it's fitting, I say, to talk about this one last because Georgia defeating Florida State in this one 63-3. Now I think everybody pretty much thought this one would get ugly. This one would turn bad, but I did not see this one going the direction it went here. It was 42-3 halftime. There's not much I can say here on this one. Carson Beck, 13-18, 2 of 3, 2 touchdowns. Kendall Milton, the running back, 104 yards, 2 touchdowns. Florida State on the game had 146 yards passing. Brock Glenn, the third-string quarterback, he's the guy that started against Louisville in the ACC championship game because Tate Rodemaker had hit the portal on Christmas Day. But Glenn was 9 of 26, no touchdowns, 2 interceptions. They had 63 total yards rushing in the game. Georgia's 673 yards total, 301 through the air, 372 passing. Of course, with Florida State, they were without Jordan Travis. We all know that. What happened to him with the injury there late in the season. He was not there for the last 2 regular season games. Also, running back Trey Benson, wide receivers Keon Coleman and Johnny Wilson, tight end Jaheim Bell, and defense lineman Jared Verse. Were few of them. They had 23 opt-outs in the game. So it really was not a fair fight from the start in this one. I mean, Georgia would have been favored if all those guys were there, without a doubt. Georgia's one of the best teams in college football. That's why I say if you say you wanted the 4 best, why isn't Georgia still in there even though they lost to Alabama? Now, who do you kick out? I don't know. Obviously, can't Alabama because they beat them. You had to have Texas in there. So I think it comes out, would you remove Washington? I think you would if you put Georgia in there. But yeah, Georgia's one of the 4 best teams in college football. And Kirby Smart had this to say in the press conference after the game, just kind of about the whole situation where college football is at. All right, this comes from the Twitter account, Brooks Austin, the audio I'm about to play for you guys. And I'm basically putting my phone up to the microphone. I didn't upload this audio. So I hope the audio is good. I hope you can hear it. But here's what Kirby Smart said after the game.
Let me say something on that because you didn't ask me that question. And maybe I'm wrong here, and maybe this will be a bad soundbite. But people need to see what happened tonight, and they need to fix this. It needs to be fixed. It's very unfortunate that they, who has a good football team and a good football program, are in the position they're in. And everybody can say it's their fault and it's still their own problem. All right? And everybody can say that we had our guys and they didn't have their guys. I can listen to all that. But college football has got to decide what they want. And I know things are changing. And I think things are going to change next year. And you know what? There's going to still be bowl games outside of those. People got to decide what they want and what they really want to get out of it. Because it's really unfortunate for those kids on that sideline that had to play in that game that didn't have their full arsenal. And it affected the game 100%. Let me say something.
All right, and that was, like I said, that was Kirby Smart talking about what happened. You know, look, he knows what happened. He knows the situation that, you know, Florida State was had a lot of their talent. All their NFL guys were gone, transfer portal or opt out. So, and he's right. If we're going to do this, it's bowl season is not as enjoyable as it used to be. I used to be big on it. And I think it's going to get worse with the 12-team playoff. I think you're going to have less and less of your top players playing, more opt-outs, more transfer portal stuff. I don't really know how you change it. I don't know what you do, but it's going to be interesting looking at it going forward, starting with next season. All right, we're going to take a quick 1-minute break, and then on the other side, we will look at what's going on today on January 1st in college football.
96.9 The Legend is your connection to classic country legends. But Digio Strategies has other options too. News Talk 103.9 is your source for America's top news and entertainment shows. Like Rick and Bubba in the morning, Glenn Beck from 9 till 11 a.m., and Clay Travis and Buck Sexton middays from 11 a.m. till 2 p.m. Sean Hannity, Lars Larson, Ben Shapiro, Matt Walsh, and others fill your day with the latest news and views from America's top conservative voices. America at Night and Coast to Coast AM keep you company and connected throughout the night. Plus, Fox News, the Alabama Radio Network, and Wiregrass Daily News keep you informed with national, international, state, and local news. And with more musical choices like All the Hits 106.7 KMX, Today's Country 95.5 WTVY, and Music 107.7, Digio Strategies gives you more choices and more variety. Listen on air, online, and on our apps. 96.9 The Legend is just the beginning.
All right, and before we get out of here, last couple of things today with the playoff games and the January 1st bowl games. You'll have the ReliaQuest Bowl at 11 a.m. on ESPN2. That's between Wisconsin and LSU. I like LSU in that one, as you heard me and Matt, but kind of recapping that. We didn't pick this one. The Fiesta Bowl. Liberty will be playing Oregon. Bo Nix is playing this one. 12 o'clock ESPN. I think Oregon should roll there. In the Citrus Bowl, Iowa versus Tennessee. Me and Matt debated. We split on this one. I'm going with Tennessee. He picked Iowa. Probably don't going to see a lot of points in this one with a freshman quarterback making his first start for Tennessee. That's 12 o'clock over on ABC. Then 2 playoff games. You'll have the Rose Bowl between Alabama and Michigan. 4 o'clock ESPN. Michigan is still listed as a 1.5 favorite. I like Alabama. Sugar Bowl, Texas versus Washington. 7:45 ESPN. Texas is a 4-point favorite, and I like Texas in that one. We'll be back on Wednesday, and we'll be recapping both of those games and any other SEC news that happens between now and then. I'll be joined by Last Word on College Football managing editor Tony Siracusa. We will recap and just discuss both the playoff games. And then I'll just go ahead and say this. I have an Alabama writer that said he would come on if Alabama wins. So that will probably be for Friday's episode of the show. Anyways, guys, remember you can follow me on social media at PJordanSEC. The podcast is available over at Wiregrass Daily News or wherever you get your podcasts. If you're on Apple Podcasts, please follow, rate, and review. Leave a review. I will read it on a future edition of the show. And if you leave just 4 stars, you were just a straight-up hater. You can check out the show over on my YouTube channel, the Phillip Jordan Sports YouTube channel. So hit the subscribe button, hit the bell for all notifications. And if you leave a comment on the video, I'll also read that on a future edition as well. Check out all my written work at Last Word in College Football. I got a recap of the Music City Bowl over there. And you can always email me at sports.philipjordan@gmail.com. Hope everybody enjoys the rest of your New Year's Day. Be back on Wednesday to recap the playoff games. Until next time. Bye-bye.